Do you want those workshops, or you can achieve the same goal without them?
It's just like with the product, you need to take into consideration that maybe you didn't plan right, or probably you didn't plan right, and you want to adjust during discussions.
The truth is, you will mess up some way, and it's cheaper and better to mess up early.
That's what you want to get, the actual impact on your business.
Hi, my name is Marcin Kokot, and welcome in Product Odyssey, the series where we explore how to build products fundamentally better. Today with me is Mike and Maciej. Hi guys.
Hi.
Hi, hello.
And we'll be exploring how to approach workshops. So when you hear about the beginning of the collaboration, you hear a lot of times that we need to start with workshop. So what is in your back of your head? How you should think about that? What are the risks there? Let's begin. Can we do workshops better? Guys, is it possible, or is it a limit of the market? We cannot do anything better right now.
Yeah, I think that it's we know situations where workshops brought great value, and we know situations where they were just a loss of time and something that is really frustrating, actually. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting discussion, and I think that approach to workshops can be done much better than the standard.
So I have a challenge, right? We are building everything under the umbrella of workshops. Can you sell me as a client workshops without mentioning word workshop?
Mm-hmm. Sure, you need to know what you want to build, how you want to build this, and you want to de-riskify the plan. You want to have a voice of market, technology, of the business connected together. And that's what you want. You don't want some certain form, some certain template. You want this covered.
Okay.
Yeah, you want the product on the market in the end, right? So you can achieve this with or without workshops. So this is just a matter of question: what approach should you pick, right? Do you want those workshops, or you can achieve the same goal without them?
Yeah, often in the projects we are showing that you can do this in this way or this way. This is the user story. You can go this way or that way. But many cases where we offer workshops, we are saying this is the way. You're not saying you can do a workshop or you can do it differently. This is the cost. This is a risk. Why we don't do that?
Yeah, this is a safe way of approaching it, right? So if you're not sure, do the workshops. But quite often it's not necessary to achieve the goal.
Yeah, I think it's also a Medicore approach, because if you use a certain template, you can actually show this to your investors. You can show this to...
It's safe.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll get some results, right?
But you're doing some work, right? You feel good about it because you're spending your time on it. You're actually doing things, right?
Yeah, it looks great, right? You have ready-made templates, right? It's beautiful. Yeah. You have 5 slides, 7 slides after the workshop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, still.
Yeah, but could you spend the time better? Like using the same cognitive effort you spend on filling some kind of templates you were provided, maybe you can do it better somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that our experience shows that there are multiple ways how to improve this. And you want to have, like the good usage of your time, but also of the time of the experts that can give you meaningful insights into what you want to build, right? That's what you want to get, the actual impact on your business.
Right, on my business, right? But then there is also this question of, I would like to assume that you are in the same boat with me. Maybe false assumption. But if you are, then I would like to know that we are on the same mindset, with the same understanding, right? So then it's not about workshop, it's about, can we get the alignment on what is the direction, what we want to build and how we want to build it, right?
Yeah, I think there are also a lot of misalignments that you can have, right? Because you can have misalignments between the experience of people in the workshops. Like, a stakeholder can be someone who is building his first IT project, or someone who is a serious serial entrepreneur and already knows what to build. You can have misalignments in different voices. The market doesn't always know. The voice of the market doesn't have the knowledge about the voice of the technology.
Yeah, you can have an idea that is actually not feasible to implement, right? Because it's either too costly to implement, or the tech is just not there yet, or other way around. It's just basically so easy to implement that you got no mouse. Basically, there is no need of doing it at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so it can be technological risk, it can be a business risk, it can be a market risk. But I would still drive to this statement that the workshop is just a fork, right? Is it the best tool? The question is for what, and then you need to ask a question: what will be after? So I'm not buying a workshop. I'm buying, and this is maybe the point.
Yeah,
right?
you're buying a common understanding of your product, of the thing you want to achieve, right?
Is it so? I'm not buying maybe the just the results. That this would be a short-term thinking. I'm buying a collaboration and partnership with you that should bring me to the situation that we have a product that wins, or I'm learning if the path is correct, right? Therefore, it's a one step on the path. I can find the solution how to reach that kind of understanding in 20,000 different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can have multiple goals, right? Because one is, okay, I already know what to build, how to build this. I know the market, and I just need the plan and user stories and estimation. That's one. Another one, you may want to have actually an advice of technology how to reach your goals, or you just want to align stakeholders. There are multiple approaches and multiple goals that you can have.
Right, and different elements in the workshop will actually access different problems or solve different needs. Right, if I see that I have a risk that the assumptions from my side can be wrong, I can start with capturing hypotheses. Right, I can, as we are doing it, I can see. List the hypotheses, check if there are any solutions in the same domain, or maybe they are totally new things that I should focus on. So the result of the workshop then is the list of not functionalities, but experiments. Yeah. And that's the path, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes it's cheaper to basically discuss this during the workshops, right? It's much easier to throw away a stick note with an idea than the feature that you already have implemented, and then you realize that, well, it may not be necessary in the first place anyway.
Oh, that's such an interesting thing. That we assume that there is a perfect plan and execution, especially in a Western culture, right? That if I would just plan it correctly, it will be successful. But the truth is, you will mess up some way, and it's cheaper and better to mess up early than late.
We dropped the waterfall approach for a reason, right? So don't bring it up again from the dead with this kind of lengthy workshops that basically do the exact same thing, even if it's not necessary. Sometimes it is. Sometimes there are cases where this is justified, but most often than not, especially with products that works purely in the virtual space, it's better to move forward, evaluate quickly the hypothesis, and break things down the road.
Yeah. You said we, dropped the waterfall approach a long time ago. I would ask, did we really? Because very often, like the approach you have at the beginning of the project is you want to plan everything, right? So that, exactly. Like I agree that the continuous discovery approach is something that you need, right? You first want to approach the beginning of the project in an efficient way, start quickly, test quickly, but also then have this all the way through the project, right?
You should do some groundwork in the beginning, right? You should build some kind of context, something that will be beneficial. So it's not like workshops are not necessary, right? It's beneficial to have it to some degree, right?
Yeah.
And you're mentioning that again, workshops, right? When you're putting that in this context, it's not about the way how to do it, but actually we're talking about the activity or the results of it. So you can achieve that not in the workshop as meeting all together, because if you can do it asynchronously, you can do it with the short interactions, with the discussions. That's also covering that, right? It's not faster, but it's still cost efficient.
Yeah, workshop is a really like generic word, right? So it could be like a 1 hour long kickoff meeting, and it could be a 2 week long or a week long design sprint, right? So both are workshops, technically speaking.
Yeah, and I would argue that even this approach where you do things sequentially. First you prepare like the business concepts, for example, for others to understand, and you talk with one person to make sure that this happens, that it is well thought through. Then you do other things that not necessarily is even longer. And sitting in a room with 10 people who just listen to how one person asks you questions and making sure that they all understand the concept that is being created on the fly, for example, that's not efficient. Yeah,
that's interrogation, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, but you need to build the common understanding of the problem of your product, of what you want to achieve, especially if this is more like an R&D product where there are lots of unknowns. So it's good to have this discussion, to maybe not an interrogation, but have the discussion to have this common understanding of the problem. But it's just a balancing act of doing this right?
Yeah. So you are building a team that will do the experiment and actually run. You have switched from stating that we need to understand the product and have understanding on the product to understanding of the problem, and I guess that's a critical, right? And that's a key. We think about this as experiment. I need to know what is the problem. I need to know what is the domain, and everybody needs to understand what is under the assumption. And then I can come up with the solutions, experiments, and learn, right? Not only with the technology, but also with going to the market and test it.
Yeah, and Maciek, you mentioned one more important aspect, that we very often don't understand each other very well. And if you just communicate through text, it's great, it helps, it structures things, but then you need to make sure that you understand each other. You want to have an NVC-like communication where you confirm that you understand each other well, and where you can have the feedback from the other party, especially when those are different roles, right?
It's really easy to misalign the IT, the delivery team, and the business team, right? So basically, the business team works in a mindset of solving problems, and the delivery team, the IT people, the developers, quite often tend to have solutions and looking to use those solutions to solve your problem. So it's basically coming from the other direction, right? And one value of workshops is to actually make use of it, try to find those alignment, let those people, those developers, those architects to actually show you those solutions that are available, that they want to use to bring your product to reality.
To verify,
and at the same time, give them the context, what do you need and what do you don't need at the moment, at least.
Yeah, and I think all the voices are important and are not very obvious, because like even the business voice, for example, it's the knowledge about how your company works, what you need, what is possible, what are your advantages, but it's also the vision of what you want to build, what actually gives you fun in building the product, in changing your part of the world, for example. And sometimes if you don't cover this, you can have a workshop which brings in a good plan that you don't want to implement, right?
So to add to that, because you're mentioning three voices, but we are still continuously skipping this or not emphasizing the voice of the market, right? So we are saying that we would like to have this voice. We need to understand how the real customer behaves, what is happening on the market, how this will fly. But then we are closing each other in the one room with the business and technology, and we discuss and assume that the market will be there. So I would say that at least there are two ways how to do it, right? At least you need to have an expert, if it's possible, expert or the user or the real user inside of the workshop itself, to verify that whatever you agree from technology and from business actually makes sense and solve the problem, right? The worst thing that we can do is create a huge solution that doesn't solve real problems. Or the second thing is go outside of the workshop, right? And that's the concept that you've mentioned very often, that it's not about doing one point solution, but actually doing a continuous discovery and continuous workshopping over the course of the development, right? That will bring us to the market.
Yeah, and the voice of the market, it's also very often you think that you have it, you think that you understand this as a stakeholder, because maybe you spoke with 3-4 clients, right? And in the end, even if you have this mapped correctly, after you launch the product, you will know, okay, in the current setup with your current product, people are interacting in a different way, right? So it's one thing, sure, to have this covered. The other thing is, again, like the continuous discovery and making sure that you will make mistakes, but assumptions about the right.
Yeah, assuming that you find the right solution even after a lengthy workshop is basically not the right assumption you should do. You will miss the hypothesis, new things will show up, right? So probably a week after your workshop, a new IT,
it's obsolete,
new AI product will come up and basically enable your product to work completely differently or make your product obsolete. You need to be able to have processes that will make use of this and evaluate it quickly and basically be on the top of the wave, right?
So there is actually one more thing, right? The fact that longer we stay with one idea and one hypothesis or prototype, the longer we treat it as our child and our thing, and it's harder to change it. So you're saying that it can be obsolete in 1 year, in 5 days right now. So we need to be ready that this is the iterations. We need to be okay with good enough solution. We need to move fast. That's what we are saying. Market is moving faster than ever, right?
Yeah, but also I would say it's not about just acting. It's also, you need the planning, but you need to do this wisely. And here I think that the voice of technology, that is critical. And there are like multiple points where voice of technology actually should take responsibility for things that are being planned.
There is actually one more thing on the voice of technology that we haven't mentioned, and that's the fact that it's not only about is it possible or is it worth of doing that, is it cost effective, but there is a tremendous value of having experts with the experience of building similar solutions to avoid very costly wrong decisions on the solution. So even prototypes we can build fast, but as we have had examples from the past that I can say that ChatGPT needs to be their version 5 and I will go with the experiments and immediately I have a billing of thousands of dollars, right? Because people started to play with that.
Yeah, so there are different angles you need to consider when building this kind of products, and good workshops should make sure that you are aware, that you are at least aware of them, right? So you cannot be sure of anything anyway, but it should give you at least some idea of what you can expect and what you need to look after in the future once the development actually starts, right? So you should be aware of the risk that may or may not happen. You need to at least have some kind of plan how you mitigate those risks, right?
Yeah, I think it's a lot about narrowing down the context, because the market, the business and technology, they all have certain knowledge, but they don't know the other side. And then when you narrow down, okay, like what you want to achieve through the in the business aspect, what is possible in the technology, then meaningful discussions happen and meaningful insights where it can actually, those types of insights can completely change your business, your approach, and give you information on, okay, like something just appeared, you can just use this certain solution. I don't need to build something huge that I was planning to build, but just focus on the critical part, right? So.
Okay, but that also assumes the fact that the party that I will go with to the workshop, so the technology, the team that will work with me, actually cares and would like to be in the same boat, not just deliver the service, right? Which is almost skipped in all the discussions. We assume that everybody is on the with the good assumptions and a goodwill, which I doubt it's a standard on the market. Right, it's easier. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
I think it should be.
It should be, but it's easier, right?
Yeah, but it's not currently, at least. So it's much easier to basically do workshops from a template to make sure that we do. This is a safer way to approach it, right? You can basically never go wrong with approaching this. But if you have some kind of product you're really passionate about, you should make sure that the people that are going to deliver the product are also passionate about this. One way of doing this is to basically have this kind of workshops or other mean of sharing thoughts to ensure that they also see your vision, the end goal, that they also get the hype that you supposedly have around your product, and you can infect them with the idea that this is fun, that this is something that they want to deliver, and workshops and having this common understanding during the workshops is a great way to actually achieving this goal.
I would say that's a great goal to have on workshops, but also I would say that you can do this even without workshops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are more than one way to actually achieve this goal. Yeah,
but then you need to have a right partner and right company that you collaborate with, right? On the values, the foundations needs to be there, and that's not always there, right?
Yeah, and the trust. It seems obvious, but or maybe sometimes you can omit it. But actually, building a certain level of trust so that you can discuss and actually have a certainty that on the other side you have someone who gives you meaningful advices, who is in the same boat with you and building
same boat. It's an interesting question, because very often you will find out on the workshop that we realize that it's not maybe a good way to go for that product, or it's not the right decision is to not continue at all. Yeah. And then you stand in a situation that if I will say to you that, then there is no project. Yeah. Right. And then this is a trust. Having a situation where I can trust that if that kind of situation happen, I will hear the statement that isn't worth of pursuing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then you want to work with someone who is focusing on impact, not outcomes, right? Not just
correct.
Yeah.
But then that's a rare to find, right? Then we are saying that workshops or the approach doesn't make the impact unless you are with the right partner, right?
Yeah, and also code is the waste, right? Code is just a mean to achieve the goal. If workshops can help you do not waste this time on writing this code, then this is beneficial to have the workshops,
correct.
right?
Yeah, and meet your business goals, right? Without this, it's like. As a tech-focused company, in my opinion, you shouldn't also treat it as a risk, because if you help someone to meet those business goals, first of all, at some point, you'll make it into a business, but also you'll get recommendations, and it's like, it's beneficial for everyone, actually.
Yeah, it's not fun to work on a project that that will not succeed, right? So. Basically, it's beneficial for every party here to ensure that you actually believe in the product, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you got like burned out developers that don't love the project they're working on. This is not the way to move forward.
Yeah, it's like you can get a project which you will deliver, but then the client is not really happy. That's one solution. Another one is that you can achieve the goals, and then maybe you don't build this project, but then the same person will come to you with their next idea, and then you can have a meaningful cooperation longer, and in the end you end up building more interesting products which are more successful.
Yeah, this is also why the technology voice is quite important in this conversation, because sometimes tweaking small things during the initial planning can basically make a big difference. So the goal may be the same, but the approach may be a little bit tweaked, but tweaking for the things that are possible or will be possible soon with the technology can basically save you a lot of time and money.
Yeah.
You just need to listen to the people that actually going to deliver it to you, because sometimes if they believe in your product, they're actually and are proactive, they can
tell you.
Yeah, they can tell you the things that you may not be aware of. And sometimes this can happen during the workshops. Sometimes this can happen later on after the workshops. So do not assume that all of those voices would be heard during the workshops, because those people may also need some time to do some deep research, to think about it. The best ideas came up under the shower. So you need to accommodate this also into your process, right?
So shower often during workshops.
Yeah.
Shower during the workshops. Yeah.
Let's do workshop and have this part. It's actually not a bad idea. I'm not saying about the workshop, but then the fact that we have touched this topic, that we have the breaks between the days, right? So we are thinking about the workshop as a continuous way, but very often it's worth of doing this kind of breaks to do the research and think about that, to be able to prepare, to inspire, and then to come back with the examples, not to do it fast.
Yeah, and also to have time to change the approach to workshops. Like bring in you during those times you can bring in experts that you didn't think you need. Like, right. This can be very extreme. Like, for example, you need another VR technology that you are not focusing on, but also it can be interesting to bring in someone who is focusing on a given aspect in a similar industry. Like you're working on the reservation system for beauty salons, but someone who has the same problem in hotel industry, and you bring them in, for example. And this is something that you can do only when you have time, and only when you have this time to also do the deep work in between.
Correct, but that can be planned, right? Design sprint assumes that in a fifth day you do the questioning with the testing with the users, so then you can prepare for that. But that's also opening this kind of wild idea that whenever you have a workshop, it's assumption from our side that we know what we want to achieve and what will happen, but we need to put in place this element of adjusting. So I can see the situation. We have that in the past, that we started the workshop with assumption it's a 3 days workshop with these elements, because we know that they are connected with these risks. In the middle of the workshop, we needed to change it completely because we have realized something.
Yeah, it's just like with the product, you need to take into consideration that maybe you didn't plan right, or probably you didn't plan right, and you want to adjust during discussions, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a good thing that you have this kind of realization during the workshops, because otherwise you will find this out anyway later down the road. So sometimes it's beneficial to do it during the workshops, but it's quite easy to extend it too far away. And sometimes you need to learn things down the road. It's not always feasible to actually
make mistakes.
Otherwise, we go back to the waterfall model and basically scope the whole project right away on the workshops. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes, most often.
Yeah, failing fast, and it's actually probably the best advice that we can give, right? Because then the learning is the course on the course of development is the best measure of success. If we learn, we learn something. If we fail, we learn something. Right?
Yeah, but also then it comes down to your goals for workshops, right? Because there can be plenty of goals that you want to have. Like maybe you want to just have the inspiration. Maybe you want to someone to advise you on how the technology can help you, and actually the approach to how you structure the workshop, how you also test whether the person or organization that plans the workshops does this right, that differs, right?
Yeah, it could be. We need to think about the fact that workshop is not given a go-to solution, right? It's not the way that we should treat it as we used to say that we have a Scrum, you need to have a daily meetings, you need to have a planning. We are used to say that. Very rarely we are trying to understand what is behind and why, and we are just doing because it was there. We need to bring everybody in, right? And it's costly. But in most of the cases, I'm not saying to challenge that, but at least have it in back of your head. Question why you are doing that, what is it for, and if we can do it more efficiently. Especially if you are in the same boat, right?
Yeah, and even if you do everything right, there's also one thing that can happen. You can end up with a plan that in the end you won't implement. We saw very strange situations similar to this, where a large company ordered workshops from someone who had a deep knowledge on the domain, and the plan that was prepared, it was great. The stakeholders in the company, they were all extremely happy, but in the end they didn't go through with the plan because they thought, okay, it's too good for us, right? So then that's the implementation part, or how you will use the insights or the deliverables of the work that you do, of discussions. That's also important, right?
Yeah, there is a saying that planning is everything, plans are nothing, and then it can always change, right? And the execution after that's the thing that it's not promised, right? If I'm buying a workshop, I'm assuming that it's for us to bring us forward, but then if the execution failed after that, then the best workshops will not give us the result.
Yeah, I think when you buy templated workshops, you will get some deliverables. That's certain. That lowers the risk that you won't get anything, right? But if you want meaningful insights, meaningful plan that you can implement, you need custom approach, I think.
Let's move to the summary of that discussion. Can you think about 2 or 3 points that I should think when I'm a CTO and CEO and somebody is telling me workshop 2 days, 3 days, right? What should I have in top of my head when I hear that?
I think you should know your goals, what you want to achieve. You should be conscious about them. I think you should discuss with person who is preparing the workshops how they are going to approach this, and be flexible into changing the approach. You also should look for someone who will be flexible for changing the plan. And then also I think that you should think about how to implement the results. So always during workshops, you can expect great results. You can expect something that changes your business. You should aim for this. And not aiming for this is a waste.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think you should always have some kind of goal in mind, and make sure that you listen all of the people that are involved in the workshops, because each of them will have their different point of view, and it's really valuable to accompany everything to ensure that you got a good product in the end, right? So from my perspective, it's really important that you would listen to the technical people, right? So they really have good intentions. They really want to solve your problem, build your product. They know how to build it, and assuming that they know how to build it, they will also throw some kind of ideas how to tweak it to ensure that it's more effective for you. So not listening to these suggestions is basically just a waste of time and money.
Yeah, I'm actually taking that altogether as the fact that we need to have a common goal. We need to bring IT in the same room. We need to bring their perspective. It could be costly. You shouldn't allow to the situation that you do it disconnected.
Yeah,
that's one thing.
And you should not assume that this is the done work, right? It's the improvement, the learning, the discovery of your product and the market is never a done work. It's something that you need to basically incorporate in your daily processes or processes in general to ensure that you have the space to improve in a timely manner. People will also came up with some ideas later on. It's not that you close the workshops and you got
right. So this is the point that always you refer to, that it's about continuous workshopping, so continuous discovery, not one point in time. Exactly. And that's also brings me to the thinking that those three voices that we need to always include: the market, technology, and then the business. That's given, and you need to think about that. But if you think about all those guidelines that we have provided, that means that we want to build a team, one team. It's not the separate business and IT. They are in the same room. And the biggest learning from my side is the word learn, because it's not about creating a perfect plan. It's not about coming back to the waterfall sequential development, but it's about planning how we will build, how we will collaborate, how we will learn, and how we'll actually experiment, and be a little bit scientific about that. And then if you want to be a scientific, you need to have a structure, but the structure can be actually selected based on what you need. So challenge everything, challenge the fact that this element, maybe it's there, user journey map is there, but do I need it or not? It's up to you to challenge that as a CEO, right?
Challenge everything, including challenge whether you need workshops in the first place or not.
And that's the last thing, right? So the workshop, we need to assume maybe the product is not worth of building that, and it's better to learn about it faster than not. And maybe the workshop itself is not the way to achieve what you want. So goal is the key here, right? But also we need to think about the fact that this is as a tool. So it's like a fork. So you need to think about it. Is it worth of doing that for a specific case like that? So in an innovation project, it's worth of doing that in a different way. In the very simple cases, it's also maybe worth of doing that in a different way or not at all, right?
Yes, exactly. If you need a simple knowledge transfer, then you can do this without workshops. If you need advice, you can do this through consulting. If you need to learn because you don't know how to structure your strategy, your implementation, or know the voice of the market, get to know voice of the market, there are different ways for this. So
right, so you need to think about this as a way of achieving your I don't want to say goal again, but achieving what you want to do. So if in the case of knowledge transfer, I can use workshops, it's expensive to do it. I can use it different ways. So it's only about the way how we are achieving specific results. Think about it in this way, and then there will be multiple ways how you can achieve that, and then you can prioritize, right? So think about that. Great group of the ideas, and then look on the workshop itself. We have touched the area of not thinking about the workshop as a single source of truth and solution, sort of a bullet, as you can say. It's about the way of working, about gaining trust, about having a team. I guess it opens the door for multiple other discussions, because it's touching the way of actually discussing how I want to continue building the product, right? Is it a sequential development, or is it something that I have it in my back of my head with some risk and I need to verify it? Or maybe it's build, measure, learn, and be a startup, which we have lots of examples. Probably we'll jump into that in the next discussion. But for now, I will leave you all with this takeaways. And that's all in this episode of Product Odyssey, where we are exploring the ways how we find out how to build products fundamentally better. Today we're discussing about workshops and topics around that, touching also the showers and different stories around that. So feel free to stay with us and look for the next episode. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Maciej.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for listening. Take care.